This is Sizzle Lean, powered by Fit to Be Trained, coming to you from the Deep End Broadcasting Network studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, here in the United States of America. You can find this program on deependbroadcasting.com and subscribe to this network's YouTube channel, Deep End Broadcasting. Here's your host of Sizzle Lean, Karen Dougherty.
I'm so happy to get this thing going tonight. I kind of had a lull right before this, and I'm used to running like 4,000 miles an hour during the day, and I like had a time to just sit and do nothing. But I admit, I was like ready. I was like excited to talk to my guest tonight. How are you though, Steve? Let me ask you how you're doing before I introduce Lori.
Oh, I'm doing fine. You know, just your typical Tuesday of 105 degrees here in Virginia.
Right? There is that. I know. But I'm going to get right to it. I'm excited to have my guest on tonight because it's kind of a full circle moment for me. I met Lori through the WIFO, it's Women in Fitness Association. I was taking a course for speaking, for speech. I kept calling it speech class, but I don't think it was called that. But something of the sort, so I could do a podcast like this.
Public speaking.
There
you go.
And I really believe that is what it was. And I took that in college, but I wanted to take it again, and I got C's credits for towards my certification and stuff like that. And Lori was my instructor. And she was so inspiring and so helpful to me, because I have to say that it was about 2-3 years ago. It was one of the hardest times that I went through in my life. Oh my God, I was going through struggles with my son, and he was adulting and getting out in the world, and maybe not making the best decisions. And I was really at a low. And so I took this course to get my head out of my own head, to get out of my own head, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And Lori was on the other end of my speech or public speaking class, and I took a writing class at the same time. And it was funny because I didn't do as well in that class, and I would always get to Lori, and she'd be so inspiring and helpful to me. And look, here I am with a microphone in front of my face, and she's on the other side. And so it's kind of a full circle. Like, I feel like, look, Lori, look what I did. I did something with what you taught me. And I appreciate that. But I want to go on and give the floor to you, actually. But I did want to say, I got my notes here. You are such an inspiring leader and leader of class too. I mean, it wasn't just me. There was several women in there. So you give us a chance as trainers to get C's and that sort of thing towards our certification. You're very successful running a boot camp challenge, and being a global ambassador for WIFA, which is Women in Fitness Association, helping trainers like me. And I will give the floor to you, Lori Patterson, and I've got some questions I'll ask, but I want you to just go ahead and feel comfortable and tell me about how you yourself got into fitness and who you are and whatever you feel like sharing.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me on to your podcast. And it is a full circle moment. And I just sit here totally inspired and in awe that you did all the things that you said you were going to do. We did some goal setting, and here you are just checking the boxes. So yay for you. I'm so happy for you, and also feel so blessed to be with you on this side. You're welcome. So to answer your question, came into this industry in the beginning of the industry, which I also think is a great blessing. I don't know too many people that get to come in an industry in its beginning. And so that for me, that was in 1984. And it was funny. I didn't know what I was doing. And there was an ad in our local newspaper for an all-female fitness facility salesperson. And so I applied and got the job. And the funny there is that I suck at sales. I still suck at sales, but I got hired. And part of the job was teaching a group exercise class. And it was so fun. We would have the record. Do you remember albums, old vinyl albums?
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Yes.
I'm a
So we
big
would take
music
that and
fan.
put it on the record player and crank it and then teach group exercise classes.
It wasn't
And
Spa Lady, was it?
no, it was called Elaine Powers. Elaine Powers.
Oh,
and it
Elaine
was-
Powers. I remember that. I was 1984 too, was when I came in too. So that's really cool. See, that's what I love about this podcast is I get to learn things about my peers and fellow business people. So awesome. Carry on.
and also to your point,
Elaine
how we're all
Powers.
connected. We're all connected.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
It's so fun.
It is. So that's where it started. And but I had no idea that would be my profession or my career or my mission for the rest of my life. That was just the beginning of 40 plus years.
Well,
of
I didn't
serving.
mention it in your intro, but you were in the Army. You're an Army veteran as well. So I wonder, did that coincide at all with your fitness process? We know you have to be pretty fit to be in the Army.
It did. So I took that job at the fitness facility and started university and hated university. I was there a semester and I thought this just isn't for me. So I just went down and joined the Army. It sounds so crazy, but it felt so natural and organic for me. And when I was over there, I still loved doing fitness. So, and I was stationed in Germany. And there was the first certification I ever took, and it was a 7-day certification. So I took leave while I was over there and did this training. And when I came back, I worked for our colonel, our battalion commander, and it was wintertime. And he said, I want you to teach all of us that aerobic stuff that you do. And because we couldn't go outside and run in the wintertime, it was all icy. And I said, okay, so I had about 300 troops in a motor pool, which think of a garage, your garage, and then times that by 100. And that's it. Just concrete, big open garage. And I was teaching 300 troops in cadre, high impact aerobics.
Oh my God, chills. Yeah. How fun. Oh my gosh.
So that's what happened when I was stationed in Germany. And also what I didn't know at the time would become the foundation of a company and program that I would start a few years later.
I know, right? God is good. It's like your path was really just put out for you and it's up to you to follow it, right? And you did. Good. That's so cool. What inspired you to create Boot Camp Challenge, which is probably what, you basically just answered that. So like you said, you didn't know that it was the start of a path, So tell me, so you come back to the States and where are you located?
Right now I'm in St. Peters, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis. And when we came back to the States, we went to Florida first because I did go back to university and finished and got my degree. And then we came back to Missouri, which is my hometown. And I was running a club, a group exercise department at a fitness facility. And the owner came to me and said, hey, would you do this early morning 6 a.m. group training program? And I said, absolutely not. There is no way that I'm going to get up. I also have 3 children and they were little at the time. Actually, I don't think, yes, all 3 were born at that time. And I said, there's just no way I'm going to teach a class. First of all, who would come at 6 a.m. and I don't want to be there. And he just kept asking me. And so finally I negotiated. I said, okay, I will do it. And it was going to be a paid program if I get half of the revenue for my department. So because every time I try to get money for raises and continuing at it was a no.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Yeah, isn't that the truth? Good job.
Yeah, I said, so give me half that money. He said, okay. So the only thing I knew were the Army. I only knew the Army and group exercise. Boot camps were not in our industry yet. And so I created
No,
this
they
group
weren't.
training. I know this group training program that was group, but I brought all of the essence that I had learned in the Army to create Boot Camp Challenge. And we ran the first session. I think the first session might have been 4 weeks. I don't even remember how it started, but it was boot camp and challenge. And I was just so shocked at the results myself. And so I asked, I think we had 20 campers, our very first launch in 2001. And I said, would you guys
I like
do this
how you call
again?
them campers.
Yeah. I said, would you guys do this again? Because I don't believe these results. They're just so great. And I was also a certified personal trainer too. And they said, yeah, this is great. And we've never taken a break. We've been going since 2001 launching, and it was just a huge success. And it grew over the years and morphed into what it is today. But that's the origin story of Boot Camp Challenge.
Well, I love it because I think it's even on here, like what was the origin? So tell me, when you went into work and he talked you into the 6 a.m., did people show up?
Yeah, 20 of them. And that's also
a whole
20. Yeah,
that's a lot.
It is a lot. And I was at that point, I didn't understand that this time slot was so successful and so many people that this was the best time for so many people to train. And to this day, so
that's
24 years later, our 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. are our most successful time slots.
And like you said, I mean, that just wasn't part of the deal way back. You know, I know you said 2001, but I'm even thinking you were in the industry as early as 84. And no, that was not part of the industry. There wasn't boot camps, definitely 80s and 90s, you know. It's really cool. It's so cool. I love it. I wow. And I remember when boot camps came on the scene and I was like, God, how genius, you know, but it wasn't anything that I was able to do. So, and that makes me want to ask more questions specifically about boot camp. When you say boot camp, if some gals were listening or guys were listening and they're like, all right, I want to take a boot camp class. Am I right to assume it's going to be squats, push-ups, lunges, or am I wrong? Like, what's going on there? Is there some mobility going on? Is there jumping jacks? Like, how do you guys structure a class? Just curious.
Yes. So in the macro, Boot Camp Challenge is a group personal training program. So there's always a start and end date. We run it in sessions. So at the beginning, we do assessments so that we can create a benchmark so that you can measure your results. And then also for the trainer, i.e. myself, I know your strengths and your weaknesses, where we might have to provide options so that you find success. Also in our program, we include nutrition, and we stay on the education side because I'm not a licensed registered dietitian, although we've partnered with them, and really focus and hone in on the education of nutrition, do a lot of myth busting, and share with our community, you know, eating fruits and vegetables, what's a protein, what foods have fiber. Through the 6 weeks, we do the education. And then lastly, we have our workouts, and our workouts are composed of squats and lunges and jumping jacks and push-ups. And we also always do a warm-up. We always do flexibility and mobility training at the end, always. And then we also include the skill-related components. So we use the guidelines of ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, and I'm still the program director for BCC as well. So I make sure that we have all the components. We have the cardiovascular training that meets the criteria for overall health and wellness, the muscular endurance training, the skill related components. There's 5 components of fitness, and then the body composition, which we do, it's one of our assessments. And then of course the flexibility and range of motion. So we include all of that within our programming, which is just another reason why it is so successful, because it has all the things.
It makes me wish I was there in Missouri. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Now, I follow you on Facebook and Instagram. Remind me of what your handle is, because you just pop up. What is your handle?
Yes, thank you for asking. So on Facebook, I'm Lori, Lori Craig, Cragg Patterson, Patterson. And that's me personally. And then my Instagram is BC Chica. So it's
Yeah, that's
BCCHICA.
right.
Yes. And then our brand pages are all Bootcamp Challenge on all the platforms.
And if you also, I'll happily include that, like, and tag
Thank
you and
you.
all that.
I can put it on the screen now. What's the do you have an actual website?
We do. Our website is bootcamp-challenge.com.
Bootcamp-challenge.com.
And then we're on
Cool.
TikTok. We're on all the things.
Well, I know, because you're fun. You are fun. I love social media, and right now I'm like trying to learn how to do sales. So I get to do, like you had said, you got a sales position way back then. I've never learned sales either in my life, and oh my gosh! But really, what is sales? Is getting out there and talking to people. That's what sales is. It doesn't necessarily mean running up to somebody and trying to sell them. It's networking. It really is. If I've learned anything in this course, it definitely is that. So I'm on social media a little bit more, even like reaching out to people. And I love your page. It's so fun. Oh my goodness. Let me see. I'm trying to look at my notes. Oh, this is important. You work with WIFA. That's Women in Fitness. That's the Women in Fitness Association. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you support a lot of us. I'm American Council on Exercise certified, and you help a lot of us girls new get into start businesses, and girls like me that have been in business for a long, long time help us with skills. Here I am with a microphone in my face. I can't say that enough. What are the key business skills you help trainers develop through CECs? I think that's worded all right, but are you mostly doing public speaking, Lori?
Right now, well, and I just want to go back to WIFA. Unfortunately, that organization no longer exists. So I know it's so heartbreaking. So ACE bought it or merged or took it over. And then I think it was last year, it's no longer in existence. So that's super sad. But going back to your question, the key business skills to help trainers develop through the CECs were a couple of things. And these are still skills I help other fitness professionals on my own, not through WIFA anymore. That's not available, but as a consultant. And we talk about, firstly, how to set up a business. I think that's key, especially for entrepreneurs, because we're big dreamers and we want to go do the thing. And it's so important that you set yourself up proper so that your foundation is solid, because as you continue to grow, you're going to encounter obstacles. So I share with other fitness professional and business owners, how to set up an LLC or an S Corp, how to find an accountant, how to find an attorney, or why it's important to do those things. That's one of the skills. Also, social media, which is what you were talking about, and how to set it up, how to talk on it, how to show up authentically as yourself. And so we focus a lot on, or I focus a lot on social media as well. So those are the skills that I really primarily focus on as far as the business.
And you probably feel like, do you feel like those are the skills that we really, as trainers, need to hone in on? Because let's face it, the world is,
yes. And also those are just not the ones that are not taught when you go through your certification program.
Right.
That we just never, and I worked with several of those organizations and wrote some of those chapters in those books and helped create the test. And there was just, and maybe that's changed. It's been a minute since I've been in there, but really a lack of material for the fitness professional who wants to make this a job. And I have seen since 2020, since the pandemic, that has exploded. I think that many people worked for bigger conglomerates. They worked for, mom and pop gyms, or they worked for global franchises, or even opened up their own gym. But since the pandemic, and I don't have a statistic on this, but from the people that reach out to me, it seems that it has exploded 10, maybe even 20x of fitness professionals that used to work for these organizations that have now branched out on their own and want to start their own business, which is great because they have the skill set to implement the tactical leg or
Right.
component of their business, but they don't understand the business of the business. And if you don't understand the business of the
Right.
business, you will go out of business. And that's the thing too. Also, when I'm coaching and consulting with fitness professionals who want to open up their own business, that's the first conversation we have is really a coaching call. Is this something that you really want to do? Because a lot of personal trainers, group exercise instructors, speakers want to do the thing. They love training. They love speaking. They love, launching group exercise programs. If you choose to start a business, you're going to get to spend very little time doing what you really love to do. So that's always where to start too. What's your why? And if you're going to have a small business where it's you're the sole owner of this business and it's you training others or doing what you love to do, I think that's great. But if you want to open a business and have it grow and bring others on board, it is critical to your success and to your longevity to understand the business side of the business.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad we're talking about this because if you recall, I hired you for consulting outside of class.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a rough time in my life. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
We were done with class and I did well and I loved that class. So I'm sad to hear about WIFA. I'm sure
me
something
too. I
will
was so
become in
sad.
the works because
Yeah.
I'm sure you're sad about it, but I mean, I'm sure they'll cover that. There'll be stuff coming. I hope, because I feel like I've seen nothing as successful as WIFA, but something will come. But anyway, I did hire you for consulting, and granted, everything with my business was already, intact, sort of, with like having the accountant and all that. And me and you basically did, it's almost funny, but I'll call it like business therapy, because I needed self-confidence. I needed to hone in on my speaking skills that I had just learned in class. Authenticity. Like you would always tell me that you were like, Karen, you are natural. You can do this. Your authenticity comes across. And it was just for me getting the courage to do it, which is just recently. And you and I were working together 2 years ago.
I think so. I can't read. And when you said two, I'm like, no, wasn't it just a few months ago? But my time is so skewed. So I think it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was. And I want people to know that, like, just because you can't, maybe your personal life is blowing up all over like landmines and you're learning skills and you can't implement them right away. Nobody can take your education away from you. Here I am using the skills 2 years later. And now remembering, because that's right, I had you as a consultant after, because when I was done class, I wasn't done with you, and I appreciate, you know what I mean? I appreciate those times where we had one-on-ones. And that's why when in the beginning of this, you were like, Karen, you're crushing it. You're going through all your goals, because that's right. I would write things down. But isn't that funny how I couldn't even, it was such a rough time, when you're going through life and sometimes you're just going through the motions. But it just proves to me that I did something very positive during that time. And even though I felt like I wasn't present, I was. So, and I think maybe the message too would be there that bad times, everything goes in flow, ebbs and flows, good times, bad times, and even terrible times end. You feel like you're in the middle of them and you're in this storm that's never going to end, but it does. It does. And I think the message would be to really keep going, moving forward. Like, look at the progress that you and I did together, but is being implemented now, even 2 years later. So Cool. I'm glad you were talking about that because yes, when people are coming into the business, there's even a question on here. What advice would you give to fitness professionals who want to grow their business? There it is. So yeah, let's share your Lori Craig Patterson. I can vouch is a really good consultant for stuff like that. Somebody you can trust and get some results from for sure. Okay, let's see. Oh, I know. This might be good. Do you have a particularly memorable client success story that stands out other than myself?
That's right. I do in different spokes of what I do. So I would say in the boot camp challenge lane, over the course of 24 years, just probably thousands of success stories.
Right.
One that I remember is one of my campers had a heart attack, not in camp. It was on the weekend, and she survived. She went through cardiac rehab, and her doctor asked her, he goes, "What were you doing before you had this heart attack?" Not the moment before, but in her lifestyle. And she's like, "Well, I was doing this program called Boot Camp Challenge." And he goes, "Well, I want you to know that saved your life." And I don't remember the specifics now, but so that was impactful to me. And then all the way to the other side within Boot Camp Challenge, I had, a woman who had children and they were going to Universal Studios. And I think they were going like 3 or 4 days. And she was able to walk the park all those days and ride all the rides with her children. And that was such a big accomplishment for her. So I've just been thinking, and I've been thinking about this lately, that I think what's the most important to me not when I hear a success story, but the most important success stories that hit me are the ones in which quality of life is obtained or sustained, or a life goal is reached, or a life is saved. So, and they
right.
And then I think, for, my coaching, I would say I had a woman who started a whole business that popped and went nationwide. She ended up selling it later on. She had a bunch of children as well. And then also, I can also say, Karen, you and all of the women that were in our speaking academy, so many went on, one went on to write a book that's huge.
Yeah, I saw that. That's right.
She's now a much requested speaker over in New Zealand. I think she might have been the very first cohort. And
I remember the girl from New Zealand. There was another girl that wrote a book too. There was two in our class.
Yeah. And so, and what's so great is that when we would, start our speakers academy, I would ask you, what is your goal? And I would write it down. I think my request was your BHAG. What is your big?
Yes, it was.
Yes. And it's so, and I remember them. I wrote them down too, but I remember them, and then I'll see them post on social, or I'm super blessed. I do receive a lot of DM, like when you DM me and people DMing me, saying, "Oh, my book is out," or I made it to the TED Talk. I'm doing. And so I also feel that that's a gift that I receive when you include me in on the joy of not only the journey, but the destination. So I would say those would be just a few of my memorable client success stories.
How fun too. Don't we have, we are involved in the best, most fun business ever. And I too, I didn't know that I was going to be a fitness professional for almost 40 years. I went to college for architecture. I thought that, I still love it. And then I ended up shifting over and I was just in drafting. I never made it quite to the architectural part. I was in there for 2 years and I loved it. And I went to engineering side and left and started a career in structural engineering as a drafter. But I always did fitness at night and taught aerobics and all that good stuff. And then by the time I was 30, I just was so miserable in that business, not to knock that business, just for me it wasn't the right fit, and got talked into doing fitness full time. And I've been so happy that I chose that. It's so wonderful to love your job. It really is.
Amen.
And to be able to help others, and you've done a phenomenal job with your educational skills. You are a fantastic teacher. So I can only imagine that you're a wonderful coach too. Of course you are. In fact, let me take a little peek at my cheat sheet here. This is a good one. What are some of the biggest challenges female trainers face in the industry, if any? Is there something you might see? I feel like we're holding our own these days.
I agree. And I wouldn't say just female, I'd say all trainers. If there was a challenge with trainers, men and women, it's lack of confidence to go do the thing. That's probably the biggest.
Did you say lack of confidence? Yeah.
Yes, to go do their thing. And almost all of them just need the slightest little encouragement to say,
I know.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now go do the thing.
Well, because we're coachable. I'm good. When I was going through that rough time, personally, and I took those classes, I had to hire a trainer too. And, I didn't have means really to be doing that, but I had to get off the couch and live, and so, yeah, we're coachable too. We're good coaches, but we're coachable too. And I don't really know where I was going there, but you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean. And here it is. How do you help trainers gain confidence in public speaking and on-camera presence? There it is, just cheering them on to get them to do the thing.
For sure. And then also I think another strategy that I use to help trainers gain confidence is to help them find their why. And, why do you want to speak? Why do you want to be on camera? Because that's the most powerful motivator. You have to start with that. And then also that's when I encourage them and say, you do have a powerful story. Just like you and I, when we worked together, I said, your story is phenomenal. And so just being, a word of confirmation saying, your story is powerful. Only you can tell your story. And then what's your why? Why do you want to share this with the world? And then lastly, to be a successful speaker online, it's just practice. You just have to do it, because I think a lot of times people hold themselves back and they're like, well, I don't know how to do this, right? There's only one way to learn how to do the thing, and that is to go do it. And, pick up your camera. And I know how intimidating it is. I do know, and I've been speaking for a very long time and working with people who want to speak, and it's practice. People always say, what's the number one thing? Practice. Once you know your why and you believe in yourself that you have a powerful story to share, then it is practice, practice, practice. And the more you do it, the better you become. Also, going in that same vein of helping people be speakers and online, I will say a lot of people enter into that industry not realizing that it is an industry. So I'll use us as an example. So it's fitness professionals, not specifically you and I, but people in our industry. Now we want to go present at fitness conferences, or we want to do TED Talks, we want to be speakers. It's important to understand that is its own industry, different from our industry. So our education, knowledge, and story comes from what we do. But once you become a speaker, that's another whole lane, industry, and skill set that you need. So just because you are a phenomenal, we'll say group exercise instructor or personal trainer, and have all this education to give, you have to learn how to deliver that information on a stage in 7 minutes with no filler words. So it's just another whole industry. And I think that that's something too, information and education, once I impart on new speakers, is that once they realize, oh, this is a new skill set. I don't suck. I'm not horrible. I can do this. It's just like anybody. It's just practice. You didn't walk in and put on a microphone on day one and be the best.
And prepared to suck. I say that to so many. I say that to myself when I'm starting something new, to forgive myself, just prepare to suck. I mean, it would
That's
be
right.
boring if you were
And give
great
yourself
at
grace.
everything right away. Like, God, I'm the best athlete right away, no practice. I mean, that wouldn't even be fun. Or I do want a TED talk. And now that we're talking, I love this because I took that class because of my personal life. Now that I think about it, I took advantage and the writing class because of my personal life. I wanted, and like you just said to me, your story is so worth sharing. And there is, and I've talked about it on other podcasts, but not as much as I probably should and need to start practicing to go do the thing. Like, I had no idea that really this podcast was going to help me so much because I'm in recovery for addiction. I've had issues with single parenting and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of things that a lot of women would relate to. And I could even niche down to things, but because of privacy of some of my family members, I can't do anything right now, but I'm really looking forward to doing the thing. And you kind of lit a fire under my butt, whether you realize it or not, by us sharing this podcast together, because reminding me of, like, because it's funny, that was such a tough time, that how you black things out. You're like, oh God, I don't want to remember that time. And there's positive things that happen in dark times.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, that's right. I mean, the whole reason why I took that class was because of the book I want to write, and I want to speak about it, and I want to talk about the experiences that I've had other than health and fitness, but relate to health and fitness. And I'll share with you, because we're doing really good on time. And this is a good chance for me to plug my thing, is that I went, after I got out of that class, I went and honed in on putting together a program, a coaching program for women and men, but women I hone in on because I'm a female. And so that's the only reason why I'm more than happy to help anyone. But where they have decided they want to quit drinking or doing drugs or whatever, and they go to treatment, and I want to stand when they're coming out of treatment, and they're like, okay, well, what's next? And then I can grab them at that point and show them how to eat. And plus it's new, sometimes you're getting out of treatment after only 30 days, sometimes 60 days. And there's foods that can really help and nourish the body, especially for somebody that maybe has been addicted to alcohol or hard drugs, a lot of opioid addiction right now. So I did a lot of research on what was really good foods for that. Some mindset issues. I took a coaching program in the sobriety realm. Even though I have 13 years sober this time, I relapsed and was out for 7 years and had 7 years prior to that. So I actually am grateful for the relapse, because I know that I can help other addicts when they come into that realm too, of maybe going back out by mistake and pulling them out of that. And so you would be proud of me, Lori, because I went and I did a huge program, like wrote it all out. There's lots of modules to it. I haven't really gone public with it because I haven't really known where to start. And I was kind of keeping it quiet because I was going through treatment centers. Do you know what I mean? And going that route right now and figuring out where my market really is. And I'm kind of getting emotional because it does mean so much to me. And granted, I wrote some transformation programs for, you, me, and any gal, like whether she likes drinking or not. I have plenty of those. But this sober coaching program, I dug deep in for about 2 years. So it's not that I haven't launched it. I just haven't really known how to go public, like here, this is the first time I've ever really talked about it with a microphone, or I've never put it on social media. And maybe this is God's way of saying, okay, check this out. This is where we're doing this. And I've spoken to people in town, like in centers and stuff like that. But if you have any suggestions, maybe not here, sitting here in this podcast for me of where to, please DM me. I know you're brilliant at that kind of stuff. And I didn't even know that was going to happen. So I've got no notes for this. So I apologize if I went off on but I think it was the right time, because here you are, an instructor of mine, and I need you to know that those courses helped me do all this big stuff to do the thing like you taught me. And I remember the BHAG, and mine was that I wanted to speak about what was going on in my world, with young people getting in trouble and being a single mom, and other things besides fitness, but really how fitness and health and nutrition and the simple things like drinking water and sleeping were keeping me so I could be a warrior when my family needed me. Boom, that's it.
There you go. Yay! You announced it. Woohoo!
I know, like I have tears in my eyes. Like I did not plan that, but I couldn't have done that with any, like that is so fantastic. It was you, because you mean a lot to me, obviously, as someone who taught me some of the stuff I know. And you are just such a fantastic teacher, trainer, coach, mentor. And the way that you lead your life and the way you walk your life, it's, God, I'm getting so emotional.
You forgot that I'm really pretty and funny, Karen.
And you are really pretty and funny. Isn't that awesome that I forgot? Well, I never forget. I never forget funny. You are really funny, because the next thing I was going to say is that you really got to follow this girl online. Like, she is really pretty and funny. So you kind of forget about all these accolades that you really have, and how you touched my life, and how I know for a fact you'd be a help to, and I don't even know that our target audience is other trainers. We do tend to have other trainers listen, because we have other trainers coming on. Last week we talked about peptides. Last week I had someone on that's so we do stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this target audience does pan out for the Sizzle Lean show. I'm pretty excited about it, but it is for anybody who's into health and fitness and some new, learning some new things regarding that. But I won't take any more of your time. I feel like we've covered so much ground, if not more. I kind of like to look over my notes and make sure I didn't skip anything. And anything in the future I should ask you, like what's coming up for you? Upcoming projects or goals? Here it is. It's on my list.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So we launched an online program. It's called BCC On Demand. And it is like, I think we have close to 100 workouts in there, and they're short workouts.
Wow.
And their purpose is to supplement those that are, already have programs. They already do boot camp challenge, or they do Pilates, or they walk, or they bike ride. And these workouts I created this based on the people asking me. Literally every single day, somebody would DM and say, "Hey, can you shoot me a 5-minute arm workout? I need 10-minute hamstring exercises." And so I thought, okay, well, why not just do it? So I did it. And yeah, so that's what we've been just working on. Of course, our boot camp challenge and serving our community. We do virtual and in person. And then our BCC On Demand is our newest launch, and just focusing on sharing that with the world.
That's so cool. I'm so glad I asked you that, because I got all emotional and forgot, how to do my job for a hot second. So I'm so glad that we talked about that. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? That's a good one.
This is such a great question.
I know.
It is so great. And I would tell me, be patient. One of the things is that I always see around the curve way before anybody else. And I know that sounds like I'm bragging on me. I'm not. It kind of sucks because I would do that and then I would implement. And then if I didn't see any results or, receive any feedback, then I would just stop doing it. And what I learned is you just got to stay in it for a very long time and keep talking about it. And then your people will find you. And then I go back to thinking about Boot Camp Challenge. This is our 24th year. And that's the one thing that has never stopped. It's always been, even boot camps weren't even in our industry. And I was doing it in my local club. And then the owner built another club. Then we were in 6 clubs, then 10. And then I licensed it. And then I sold it to trainers and clubs around the United States. And then we went global.
That's so
and
great.
It is so great. But there were so many other things that I did and didn't receive what I would consider a success in, a year or two. And I wish I would have kept doing it. So that's what I tell me when I start something, give me a runway of 10 to 20 years, not 6 to 12 months. Because for
you're
whatever
talking to
my
me,
life, it does not happen that fast.
I'm the same way. You're talking to me because I needed to hear that lesson. And since that was so good, let me ask you one more thing. What's one What's one unexpected lesson you've learned through your journey?
I think my biggest takeaway or my biggest lesson was that my mission here, one of my missions here on this planet, is to serve my community in this capacity, to help people feel confident in moving their bodies, feel confident in their bodies, and really just giving people permission, building their confidence or self-efficacy and giving them permission to be their authentic selves. And when I started teaching group exercise, or we called it aerobics back in 1984, I didn't know that. So that's what the biggest lesson and my biggest takeaway. And the older I get and the longer I'm in the industry, I just realized that this is really a servant's job. I am serving a community, and that's my purpose and mission and my calling.
And a gift. And you're so gifted at it. And I really think people, I want you guys to follow her online. She's super fun, and you get lots of little treats and tips and stuff like that, like little niblets of fun on her pages. And this podcast has really, gosh, I'm going to walk away like, wow, that was like therapy for me. I did not expect it, but I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me and giving me the floor to ask you questions, like, that not everybody wants to do that. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your personal life. And I know you're busy with your new family. I love watching all that online too. Not new family, but you know what I mean? Your family is expanding.
It is growing. And Karen, thank you so much for inviting me. I love how you opened the show with, it's a full circle moment. I felt like that when you invited me, feel blessed and honored that you're having me on your podcast. And thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks, Lori. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And you have just left me full of joy.
Awesome. Mwah. Bye.
See you, Lori. Thank you.
Oh, what a night. I love that song.
All right, Karen, good job.
Thank you. That was fun. Gosh, I even got emotional. I like it when that, it's like a good movie when you get to laugh and cry.
All right, good guest next week.
Yeah. We're full of it. We are doing good on the guest list. I got to say it. I'm pretty proud of us.
All right, good job. We'll
All
see
right.
you guys later.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, what a night. That was great.